A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us today. It is the 12th of November 2020. The station is Punchline Africa TV, and my name is Miriam Ogutu. And of course, the show is Good Morning Africa, where we get to bring ourselves up to date with what is happening, of course, in the country where we are here in Kenya, and also indeed across the continent. And how we do it is we go through the three leading newspapers here in the country, and then later on, we shall look at President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. We must keep up to date and see how far has President Uhuru Kenyatta come in terms of achieving his legacy. What has he done? What can he do better? How can he improve? And what other areas should he focus so that he's able to deliver, because we know the Big Four agenda is something very important to him. And now we see the BBI process, and of course the latest on that we shall be looking. As we look at the newspapers this morning, so let's just turn our attention to the Daily Nation. Of course, as I wait for my panelists, they shall be here shortly. We start with the Daily Nation. And on the front pages there of the Daily Nation, 4 billion Kenya shillings COVID tenders dished out on phone. Hello there, that is what the Daily Nation says. Top KEMSA officials threw procurement regulations out of the window and awarded multi-million shilling contracts for the supply of face masks and sanitizers to firms that were not qualified through phone calls in most brazen scandals. Okay, let's just look at that on page 4, and then we shall come and see President Uhuru Kenyatta's wish list to Kenyans, as we expect President Uhuru Kenyatta today to make the state of address. Today is expected to do that in Parliament. But let's look at this 4 billion COVID-19 tender dished out on, like, how do you even do that? They floated all the procurement process, so let's see what happened there. On page 4 of the Daily Nation, and corrupt tenderpreneurs were awarded 3.9 billion Kenya shillings worth of COVID-19 supplies through phone calls in an elaborate scheme that saw taxpayers' cash siphoned into a few individuals' pockets as hospitals and medical workers grappled with a severe shortage of life-saving protective gear. Other well-connected influence peddlers just walked into the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority KEMSA headquarters in Nairobi's industrial area and signed supply contracts with billions. A parliamentary committee had yesterday revealing fresh details of how the COVID millionaire's self-enriched scam was executed. And I'm joined by Daniel Matsanga. Daniel, good morning. All right, okay. He should join us in a short bit. He's still working on his, signal there. So now, KEMSA managers told MPs that tender advertisements for the COVID-19 materials was not made public, and that most firms were awarded contracts worth tens of millions of shillings after their directors got phone calls from senior officials. The KEMSA acting chief executive Edward Njoroge appeared before the National Assembly Public Investment Committee, also revealed that most companies that were awarded contracts were not pre-qualified and were not even in the state-owned drug agency's procurement database. Under government procurement rules, companies must be pre-qualified before being awarded a tender. And I just don't understand, because you already know that is something that, especially during this time that we have a pandemic, and the role, that KEMSA has in terms of facilitating some of these things that are very important, like the PPEs. You already knew that KEMSA will have a lot of spotlight, so that should have been called for a more careful and a more open, process. There's no way, even the officials and the management of KEMSA thought they will get away with this, because all our attention, as Kenyans, went to KEMSA, because we know this is the firm that is mandated to procure certain very important stuff, on behalf of the government, and make sure that we have enough in the country. And you see, very well, the CEO went there and he was telling the parliamentary committee that a lot of these tenders, worth millions of Kenyans shillings, were awarded through phone calls. So you already know that you are doing the wrong thing. So the right thing for you to have done is refuse to do that, I think, so that you're fired, and then you say, I'm being fired because I have refused to do something that is not in line with what I'm supposed to be doing, being a holder of this office. But you went ahead anyway, and you honored, these tenders. People just walked into KEMSA, as we are reading here, and they were awarded tenders, either through phone calls. And you thought, what? That was okay. So as much as there is that influence from outside, and they're seeing here from high political senior officials, I don't know which senior officials these are, but still you have a level of culpability in this. You must take responsibility on your part, because you agreed to do something in a way that is not in line with how you're supposed to do it. You clearly understand the procurement rules. You know that, but you still went ahead and agreed and, and did things in the manner you knew you're not supposed to do. So those senior officials, of course, we need to know who these people are and held accountable. But also, you will not get away with this. You also have some level of culpability, because you authorized, you agreed, you give out these tenders, even knowing very well that the proper procedures were not followed. So still, KEMSA management, you're not off the hook yet. So let's just get to see what really they were saying. Amid the shocking revelations, Mr. Njoroge told MPs that KEMSA is broke and does not have single cent in the bank, even as investigations in the multi-billion shillings COVID-19 heist continues. Geez, we're not shocked. You have all these PPs that were procured lying there. The expiry date is quickly coming, and yet we have our nurses and doctors out there contracting COVID-19 because we don't have enough of that in our hospitals. And then because you overpaid for these supplies, that is what happened there at KEMSA, And some of the supplies have not even been supplied, but have not even been paid for. Yeah, so they were overpriced, and that is the problem. That is the heart of the scandal that went down there at KEMSA. And now you're broke, and you're not able to make other procurements. Yeah, I'm not really surprised. Okay. And so the authority procurement manager, Edward Buluma, told the committee led by Mvita Member of Parliament, Abdul Swamad Nasir, that most of the companies that sold COVID-19 materials to the agency were not all among the pre-qualified suppliers. Why? Why did you agree to operate outside the confines of the law? You should have followed the law. I don't care who called you. You should have said, no, we cannot do that, because that is not the right thing to do. You had a responsibility to stop that and refuse to do what was wrong. As much as I don't know who is that made those phone calls, all right, or walked into KEMSA and ordered you to do what you're supposed to be doing. You, who was at the top helm, top officials there at KEMSA, you had a responsibility to stop this, not to play ball, not to agree to do things outside of the law. You understand very well the requirements when it comes to public procurement, outlined very well, but you still went ahead. And now you're here telling us that all these companies were not pre-qualified, and yet you went ahead and offered them the tenders. Why? Why did you do that? That is what I want to know. That is what that is what a lot of Kenyans, an explanation we would like to hear, on your part. I'm not saying who made those phone calls, they have a level of culpability, but you authorized. Even if they made those phone calls or texted or emailed or whatever they did to compel you to, put pressure on you to offer these tenders, but still, you understood well and good these companies are not pre-qualified. These companies did not meet the prerequisite before they had been able to be offered these tenders, but you still went ahead and did it anyway. So you cannot get away with that. I don't think, unless you're telling us somebody put a gun on your head and said you have to sign this, otherwise I'll blow your brains away, and that was not the case. Phone calls. That is something that you should have raised an alarm even with the Ministry of Health or somebody. I'm sure there is a higher authority where you would have gone and said, you know what, I'm being told to do this, and make sure you have it on record. Make sure it is there, it's proved, because now it's your word against them. All right? Are there records of those phone calls? Are there records of those emails? Are there records of those text messages? Because there has to be a written those are the laws. There has to be a written official communication. Were you able to keep those records? Are you able to bring the proof? Because it's your word against them, all right? So still, I think the top management there and the top officials and the managers there at KEMSA, you're still culpable of what went down there at KEMSA because you allowed it. As much as the pressure was put, but still you knew that was against the law, but you still went ahead and cooperated with those people anyway and those farms anyway. So you have, I think, the highest culpability. And of course, all those other farms and people involved in those farms also should be investigated so that everybody is held accountable. We cannot, we cannot. And of course, at 11 a.m. we shall be looking at corruption and the weak link when it comes to the fight against corruption in the country. And if you were to win this war against corruption, which we've said, and I repeat, it is also a pandemic, that it really has infected this country. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has been in the forefront in the fight against corruption. And when you see things like this affecting a very important sector, which happens also to be one of the key things in President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda, and that has to do with health under the universal healthcare there and affordable healthcare. So if an institution like this that is quite paramount in executing or playing part into realizing this dream, then this is serious, and this is something that should not be taken lying down. We have so many of those worth millions still lying there in camps, and nobody's going to buy that because they're overpriced. So I don't know what they intend to do with that. The PPs that are already procured, and now KEMSA is saying they're flat broke, don't even have a cent, so they can't even make more procurements over things that we need here in the country. So that is a cause for alarm. So he did not tell the committee who specifically was calling the companies. That is what he should have said. You should have recorded. I know it's very unorthodox, but those are the times you record the phone call. You record something, and you demand that they make a communication in an official way so that you're able to have the records now. So now you did not even mention specific people who called you, and then senior Ministry of Health officials who are previously accused of having issued phone instructions to KEMSA managers to award tenders. That is not how you issue tenders, through phone calls. No, you make you submit a written, whatever it is, but it has to be in a formal way. For what purposes? For accountability. It would have been easier for you to just go and pull out and print that email and say, this is it. Because if you received an email, you cannot lie about, the timestamp or things like that. So it will be easier to build your case. So now you cannot name those people who called you. You did not give specific names there. And also, you're saying all these instructions were given through a phone call, which goes against the procurement laws, especially when it comes to government institutions. So Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe and Permanent Secretary Susan Muchache are expected before the committee on Tuesday next week to answer questions on the utilization of the pandemic billions. President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered a probe into the KEMSA scandal within 21 days in August. The Director of Public Prosecutions received the ethics and anti-corruption findings into the scam in September and appointed panel to review the file, but has not yet announced whether any individuals will face charges over the matter. So that is also a story that we shall be following. Please, EACC and the people that are involved here, this is something that is of a public interest, and Kenyans need to know, and Kenyans have a right to know what happened, who stole the money, who overpaid some of these monies, even as the PPs that were acquired are now even, rotting there at KEMSA, warehouse. So Daniel Wasonga, good morning. All right, not yet, but he's still working on his signal there. So once he's able to join us, we shall have him on the show. So on the front pages there of the Daily Nation this morning, Kenyans wish list to Uhuru. The weight of expectation will be on President Kenyatta today as he addresses some of the critical issues facing the country in his annual State of the Nation speech. Some of the issues weighing down Kenyans include the impact of COVID-19 on both the healthcare system and the economy, and with children staying away from school for close to a year, Kenyans will also be looking out for solutions towards facing the education sector and the path to a safe reopening. So that story is on page 7 of the Daily Nation. And if you're watching and you're a Kenyan, please let me know, what are your expectations? What do you like President Uhuru Kenyatta to include on his State of the Nation address today? I know Kenyans need to know some way forward on certain things. And so let's just read that. And some of the issues, I've read that. So the president has also been short on delivery on the corruption front and has used previous addresses to tackle the issue. The rise of suicides, crime, and other social ills due to growing poverty will also be a point of concern. MPs also expect him to address the referendum debate and the roadmap to the implementation Building Bridges Initiative report. Lawmakers who spoke to the nation said they want the president to talk about COVID-19 containment measures and national unity, the Big Four agenda, and the fight against corruption, which I think is important. I think those things are important, and we need to know how far the president and his administration has gone in terms of the Big Four agenda. How much has he been able to achieve? What has been happening? I hope that the president will be able to highlight some of these things so that Kenyans can know. I know that the affordable housing, I see them all over. A couple of apartments have gone up and others have already been completed. And so that we can see, and also a few other things. But the president, while addressing the nation today, I think Kenyans will be expecting for him to touch on this and to just update us on how far him and his government has been able to go as far as the Big Four agenda is concerned. And of course, MPs also expect him to address the referendum debate. I'm not sure if President Uhuru Kenyatta will have that, but this is something that is, it's quite close to his heart. So perhaps he will be able to address that, and also the BBI. I'm not sure if he will really get into the details, but those are the things that the members of parliament are expecting that President Uhuru Kenyatta will be able to address today. Now, Article 132 of Constitution and House Standing Orders obligate the president to address a joint sitting of the houses on matters that touch on national values once a year. In his address, President Kenyatta is also expected to report to Parliament the measures taken to achieve national values, progress in fulfillment of international obligations, and the state of security. President Kenyatta is likely to seize the moment to update the public on the achievement of his administration, especially his pet retirement project. I'm not sure if that is shady or it's quite interesting there, the choice of words by the Daily Nation. His pet retirement project of the Big Four agenda and the BBI report. I will not read the whole of that news item there, but it is on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. And so if you'll be looking to watch or to follow that Nation of Address speech by President Uhuru Kenyatta today in Parliament, please let me know what some of the things that you would want the president to touch or to look at. Okay, now there's this story. I was watching the news last night that really caught my attention. The evangelical pastors here, the church leaders from the evangelical churches here, something they suggested there that I don't know. So that is on page 6 of the Daily Nation. A group of bishops has called for the extension of President Uhuru Kenyatta's term to ensure sufficient time for the implementation of the Building Bridges Initiative. Now, the bishops, under the banner of the Kenya Council of Church Alliances and Ministries, KCCAM, said if an extension of the president's term would result in an all-inclusive report, they will back the idea. Okay, I'm confused. So, because the last we checked, these same church leaders had a problem with the BBI, had a problem with some of the issues there in the BBI, had a problem with the other constitution, the 2010 constitution that we promulgated. A couple of things there they felt was not addressed. And yesterday I saw them also mentioning these things have to do with gayism and abortion and all that, and they're saying that is in our constitution. I don't think so. Because even under abortion, they're saying there is a caveat. You cannot have abortion unless, mother's life is in danger, or and the Constitution is very clear about that. and the other one, which I will not even get into, the other thing that they were raising. So now that has been their contentious issues, and because of that, they've been saying we cannot support this BBI report. But now yesterday, they come and say, that if at all President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government or parliament or whoever who can do that could find a way to extend even the term of the presidency so that we have enough time to ensure that this BBI has enough time to be implemented so that everybody, we've seen a lot of people wanting to come in and a few things being changed, but they're saying for the sake of inclusivity, if they could extend President Uhuru's term, and Parliament, of course, for that reason, so that we have enough time to talk about all these issues that are being brought up by different people who are not very happy by what BBI captured, or certain things they don't want in the BBI, or certain things they want included in the BBI. So they're saying for us to have an all-inclusive process, and we know there's a limitation when it comes to the time because we're also rushing towards our general election there in 2022. So because of that, maybe we should think about extending the term of the president and also parliament, of course. The president and parliament, their terms go together. And then after that, we have enough time to discuss this. Then if that is done, then we will support the BBI report. See, now I am confused. So you don't now bringing up the issues that you felt was a concern in the BBI that you felt you don't want, because you had said the expanded executive is going to be a burden to Kenyans. You've come out and already criticized that, and other issues that you're saying was not really addressed there in the BBI, and also some other church. There's so many of these church bodies now coming up and the issuing statements, right? All the time, because there's another group also just immediately after President Uhuru Kenyatta launched the second draft of the BBI report, which came out and said, because the Muslims have the Sharia law, they have their own Sharia courts, the Qadi courts, that specifically takes care of some issues when it comes to the Islam faith. And we've had that for the longest time in our constitution, and that has never been a problem. But now they came out and said, since the Muslims have that court, now we also as Christians need that same court. Do you know why the Muslims had to have their Qadi courts? It's because our constitution is majorly based on the Christian faith, if I am not very wrong. And if I'm wrong, please, I stand to be corrected. So that's why. So there are things that are quite specific to the Islam faith that were not adequately captured in our constitution as it is. So that necessitated certain issues that have to be looked at in the Islam faith, that they required a special court to do that, and that is the Qadi's court. So that's why we have that. But now this Christian, I can't remember their name also, it was an alliance of Christian, clergies, and they came out and said, now we also need a Christian court, which I thought was ridiculous. So now this other lot is coming out and saying, if President Uhuru Kenyatta would extend his term and of parliament, what will happen is we will be able to support the BBI. Forget what we've been making noise about. Forget the issues we've been raising that we felt was not addressed in the BBI. So it's quite confusing for me. I'm joined by Javan. Javan, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to our viewers.
All right, so this clergy who came out and said President Uhuru Kenyatta should perhaps extend his term and also that of Parliament so that we have enough time and sufficient time to address these issues that are being raised in line with the BBI report, so that we have an all-inclusive report. And if that will be done, then they will be supporting the BBI. Are they honest?
And thank you, Miriam. And one thing that we must agree is that we are having a lot of confusions in the entire the church in this country. That is maybe the reason why they are making different voice, because if we had one church that is well organized, they could be making one standing. But now you look at them, every church is pulling towards its own side, and that is a problem that we have going forward. And Miriam, yesterday, when they said that, and they want to the term of a president extended, then now they are bringing even more confusion, because we know we extend the term of the president, the parliament, the senate, the governor.
Go ahead. Okay, a bit of a signal problem there from Javen, but what this...
Content on the content.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but we had the time to present our views, but some of these members of the society failed to do so. Therefore, they want to derail this process backward. And Miriam, if we talk of extending the term, then I think we'll create more disagreement going forward. But if all of us Kenyans will agree, then there's no problem.
All right.
I think that is a question that should be asked to Kenyans, whether they want the term of the president extended so that we settle on these issues one and for all. Then if we Kenyans agree, then we can have that question in the referendum, whether to extend the term of the president. Then we work on the BBI thereafter.
All right,
if
all
possible.
Right. Okay, so Bishop Makarioki of Deliverance Church asked the President and Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga to convene a national delegates conference in order to address contentious issues. Okay, now a national delegates conference. And he's saying this should be done even if it means extending the term of the government to create room for debate and building bridges. We need enough time for everybody to participate and feel represented to avoid an us versus them scenario. We want a win-win situation, Bishop Karaoke said. And I'm just wondering, did somebody send them? Daniel, good morning. I see you joining us.
Yes, a very, very good morning, Miriam Oguta at our headquarters, as Jav and Karanja in Nanyuki, and of course our viewers in Kenya and the rest of the world. So when I read such kind of sentiments, I believe that perhaps there might be some retrogressive forces which have been dispatched to really impede the progress which the BBI has been taking. You know, we are prior to this, we have been having a very steady and a quite well calculated progression in terms of implementing the BBI report. And to me, when you ask me, Miriam, I think implement a BBI report is akin to laying tracks ahead of an oncoming express, and there's no way you can be able to unlay those tracks. So to me, it's very impossible to undo whatever progress that we've made in the BBI report, in that some people are trying to tell us that we need to go back to a consensus, we need to call a meeting to accommodate this and this view. When initially they had, at the beginning stage, when the train was leaving the station, they had an opportunity to appear before the BBI steering committee and be able to present their views. So to me, anyone who pops up to request for some extra time, for some excuse to be squeezed into the BBI report is not so genuine, and they are just hiding under the veil and the cloak of opposing the BBI report in the end of it. So to me, I don't see any genuine concern there. I see people who are out there to really waste time for the BBI task force and the proponents of it, so that at the end of the day, we shall be time barred in implementing this good report. So let those who are opposed to it wait for the ballot to decide whether the BBI will be sailed through or not. And for the record, Miriam, the church in Kenya has never supported any constitutional amendment. They opposed in 2010, and we don't expect them to support these new kind of reforms that are being stipulated in the BBI report. So to me, it would be a matter of wasting time if you allow each and every aggrieved party to come on board and be able to make their demands.
All right, so what you're saying is they wait for the referendum and they can continue voting no on that. Okay, so Professor, you're joining us. Good morning.
Good morning to Miriam, Daniel, and Javan, and our viewers, wherever they are.
All right, and they're looking very sharp this morning. So now the clergy yesterday, they're saying, you know what, for us to have an all-inclusive process, because we need everybody on board, which we all agree is impossible, all 47 million of us plus, we cannot agree on the same thing. That would be weird in a democracy like ours, right? So they're saying, perhaps President Uhuru Kenyatta should extend his term to solve these problems so that we're able to have an all-inclusive, process. And when I look at this clergy who came out yesterday to speak, we know we've been following how they've been speaking, and we've been seeing how they've been speaking, especially when it comes to certain issues of national interest. Do you think somebody sent them?
Miriam, they are saying the president to extend his term. Don't you think that one will be subjected to the people of Kenya? Don't you think there are some people who want President Uhuru Kenyatta to go home when his term ends? Do you know that we cannot even agree on that? So be it as it may, Miriam. Do you know how long we have had this BBI and handshake process? Miriam, it is 2 years, 8 months. To be precise, 32 months. And the clergy had the opportunity, Miriam, to represent their views. And Miriam, it was not a must that everybody, the views you represented, that they would be captured. And if, Miriam, if another person feels that their views were not captured and they want them to be captured and bring them to the people of Kenya to decide, because the power belongs to the people of Kenya. Miriam, they can correct a million signatures and forward to IBC, and they come with the question they wanted to be put before the referendum. So Miriam, from where I sit, they are serving certain interests and no other interest. They are serving the interest of the deputy president. They opposed the referendum in 2005. They did oppose 2010. Miriam, if they were to support this one, it could have been a miracle, because Miriam, we use the past to judge you and the present to predict the future. So the clergy have never supported the process. Miriam, what do you expect to listen from people who receive the proceeds of corruption and they cannot condemn? And the same document, Miriam, condemns corruption. So Miriam, let me not be too much on the clergy. Those are their views. They are entitled to their views. Let us have the referendum question. Let us have the bill. Let it be presented to IPC. Miriam, let us go to the referendum. If yes, cast the day, fine. If no, cast the day, fine. That's democracy. And Kenya does not stop. Because if the majority have said the current constitution is okay, so be it. So I don't see someone who have been given 32 months, Miriam, that even if we are given another 2 years again, they cannot. Time has come, Miriam, for us to put the country forward and fast, to move towards progress, to advance towards progress. And even, Miriam, I was looking at the definition of agriculture, and I looked at these pastoralist brothers. Miriam, if someone cannot be able to define agriculture, then, and those are our readers, and those are the people who registered, Kenya is headed for trouble, Miriam. If our own member of parliament cannot know what agriculture is consisting. So there's a lot of politics, Miriam. Everybody is coming from every other angle. Miriam, those who were against the PPI process from the word go, they are the ones who are engaging and taking our circles up to now. I submit, Miriam.
Okay. All right. Very well. Thank you. And of course, the
Miriam.
Treasury. Yes. Yes, Karanja, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was making my submission, but
we had a
my
problem.
network was having a problem.
All right. Go ahead.
And I was saying that if they are talking of extending, and I was saying something, the problem with our church, they don't speak from the same corner. Every church is pulling towards where it will benefit the most. Miriam, the pastor who made that remark, we know him as one person who is well associated with the current resident at the church there. He is a regular pastor in those areas. Therefore, these people are coming from a quarter that have been fighting this process from the word go. And when they talk of extending the term of the president, they are not even talking, if we extend the term of the president, we extend the term of the deputy president and all other elected leaders in the past general election. Therefore, this is a malice. This is something that they want to take Kenyans into a kind of divisions, because people will disagree in that issue. And now people will be focusing on the whether to extend the term of president or not, and sidelining the process of the BBI. And Miriam, if that is the way to go, then Kenyans should be asked whether they want the term of the president extended, because they are the one who passed this constitution. Then we can amend it and talk of 3 terms of president, and that maybe we can include it in the BBI so that we can talk of the president going for more than 2 terms. If that is their, maybe they are making a recommendation, but they are fearing to come out clearly. Maybe they want to say that the president can go for more than 2 terms. It can be proposed in the document, and Kenyans will have the final say. Yeah, thank you.
All right, very well. So on page 8 of the Daily Nation, Mutula Kilonzo Jr., the best senator InfoTrack poll says, I don't know if, because the last time we were looking at an InfoTrack poll here is when they were rating the governors, and they brought it, was it 2 weeks ago? And when we were looking at it, they were saying this is a survey that was done even before YT2 left office. So I don't know if we should go, I don't know if you should get, I'm not casting doubt on this, but they're saying Makueni's Mutula Kilonzo Jr. is the best performing senator, followed by his Elgeyo Marakwet Kipchumba Murkomen. A new poll shows, according to the Senate Elected Leaders Performance Index, poll conducted by InfoTrack Research, the Makueni senator scored 66.4%. Where Murkomen, came in second with 58.8%. Samburu Senator Steve Lelengwe comes third, and others in the top 10 are Kwales Isa Juma, Kakamega's Cleophas Malala, Fatuma Dulo of Isiolo, Kericho's Aaron Cheriot, and Tarakanithi's Kithure Kindiki, Rungu Kangata of Muranga. And I want to see the worst. I want to see, where is that? And Nairobi was allocated. Guess what? Our senator did not even make it to the top 10. That is our senator there, and I want to see the worst, but it's not here. I can't trace that. But let's just look at this very important story that yesterday really trended here in the country. And Kagwe urges caution on COVID vaccine developed by the U.S. Farm Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has expressed reservations about the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine being developed by American drug giant Pfizer, the way I had them pronounce it. The company on Monday said its COVID-19 vaccine candidate is 90% effective. When he appeared at a Senate committee on Wednesday, Mr. Kagwe said he has doubts about the vaccine. I'm told this vaccine is supposed to stop one from getting the virus. Is that not how vaccines work? I don't know, Professor.
Miriam, I don't have much to say about Kagwe. And he retracted what he had said. He recanted.
Yes.
So once he has done that one, then I rest my case. But let me just have this to say that the power has entered Mutahi Kagwe's head. I have to be very honest. I have to be very honest. Yeah. This day he seemed to be very arrogant and not humble, the one we used to talk good of.
Is he not
what
just
frustrated? What I want to say is that power has entered his head.
Is he arrogant or just frustrated?
When power enters in the head, Miriam, you don't see what others are saying, Miriam. Those are give science opportunity to advise you. He's just a business executive person. And that's what I have to say. It costed the Trump. He doubted science, and science has screwed him the Miriam. So power, from where I sit and wherever I look at Kagwe these days, power has entered
his head. When I look at C.H. Kagwe, I see somebody so frustrated. Kenyans, you've refused to understand that you can get it and he can get it and you're supposed to be careful, and you refuse. So he's so frustrated. He does not know what else to do with you. I think when I see a very frustrated man, because, as much as he's done his best to ensure that we all know what is happening, but we still choose to do what we want anyway. So, so maybe he's just a frustrated man. I don't know. But yesterday's comments there were really something. So when he appeared at a Senate committee...
Miriam, from Kemsa Saga, being interviewed, being involved, he just disappeared. He's not the same. He's not the same. He seemed to be very frustrated, very arrogant, not very humble, not the man whom we used to see. We were saying, he can even be the man of we can consider for an office in this country. But no, Miriam, when power enters into your head, you can say anything. You don't give us a second chance and a second thought.
So he's saying, I'm told this vaccine is supposed to stop one from getting the virus, he said, adding, how do they know that a person is going to get the virus? Duh, because people have been getting it. Daniel.
Yes, I think the statement was quite reckless on his side. And perhaps as a minister, maybe he wouldn't have been in such a rush to make such very an obnoxious statement. And I saw, of course, a lot of dissatisfaction from a lot of Kenyans on social media space, and that tells you that it did not augur well with each and everyone who is concerned Kenyan. And of course, owing to the fact that the entire world does not know on the way forward on coronavirus. And therefore, as a leader, he should at least show some imp of optimism when it comes to matters coronavirus. At least he would have taken a very optimistic tone rather than just dismissing it quite vaguely and painting a very, very gloomy picture when it comes to the vaccine. So to me, I think as a leader, he failed in that. And he owes an apology to the people of Kenya, to our morale, and also just hopeful people who are out there maybe thinking as much as we combat this pandemic, we should as well be hopeful that perhaps the government, together with the international partners, are working hand in hand to see that at the end of the day, we have a positive feedback based on the vaccine. So to me, I agree with Professor. He really was he showed inadequacy when it comes to leadership yesterday. For the very first time, I was so much disappointed about the health CS Mutahi Kagwe.
So he says, how do they know that a person is going to get the virus? Perhaps I will be educated and not ask silly questions, and Kenyans did the education yesterday. So later on in the day, Mr. Kagwe released a statement saying, quote, he was quoted out of context and added that Kenya would not make pre-orders for the vaccine. So what he's saying, we should wait for globally and scientifically approved and acceptable vaccines. We are on the side of caution, he said in a statement. So he's saying, let's just wait and see for those who are ordering how that will work for them, and before we are able to order, which I think would make some sense. But also, I love that he came out and corrected that. Right, Karanja? He said he needed to be educated, and Kenyans offered him some lessons there.
Yeah, and one thing, Miriam, you know, when you speak some words, you can say that you are not well. People did not get your message well. That is what not you intended to say. But the point remains that you already uttered those words, and that you cannot reverse them back to the mouth, and that is it. And Miriam, as a leader, you know, when we had the first cases of the COVID-19, CS Mutahi Kagwe was seen to be a man who was giving hope to Kenyans, a man who was standing firm and saying this disease will fight it, we will win this war. And little people are being hopeful. But now yesterday he was even breaking those hopes, and he was telling Kenyans, let's continue with our struggles here, let's continue with our numbers, because even those vaccines, they don't know whether even we will get the virus. Miriam, the purpose of getting this vaccine is to prevent you. And what we are doing here in the country, we are doing preventive measures when we wash our hands. Therefore, it's a part of preventive measures that will ensure that Kenyans don't get this disease in future. Therefore, he could have remained optimistic, and he should not be the one who is making Kenyans to lose hope. He should be the one giving hope and encouraging Kenyans that good days are...
All right, very well. Okay.
We are almost getting there. You see, we have a vaccine that is already in process, being done some kind of experiments so that we know whether it will work effectively. Then that is the kind of tone that we expect from him, but not the tone to break our morale and to make us feel like we are not heading in the right direction.
All right, very well. So, okay. So on the front pages of the Standard newspaper, Uhuru's last bullet. When have you got into that yet? So eyes on the prize. President Uhuru Kenyatta makes his second last State of the Nation address in Parliament this afternoon on the back of gripping national challenges that have recast his priorities. And if you could pay attention to what those church leaders are saying there for President to extend his term, this might not be his second last. But President Uhuru Kenyatta today is set to give the State of the Nation address. Professor, what are your expectations? What do you think President Uhuru Kenyatta should address today?
Yeah, Miriam, very true. It is true that as the clock is moving, is ticking, President Uhuru Kenyatta's time of office in office is getting much nearer and nearer and nearer, and it's coming to a close. In fact, this, to be precise, this is the second last state of the nation is addressing. That's how serious it is. He's only having with one, and then the other one will be addressed by another one, whom should have sworn in by 2022. So Miriam, it's very unfortunate that the president is going to address the nation at this point in time when we are faced with so much challenges, Miriam. I have no doubt he will focus on COVID-19. Miriam, COVID-19 has interfered with the way and lives of the people. It has battered the economy. Miriam, our school, our children are not in school. The year is already is gone. Miriam, even the one who are in school, we are having challenges. Miriam, terrible challenges. Miriam, the economy, you see how the economy is, Miriam. It will be, of course, address PPI, so that because we must be able to ensure that we complete it, so that as we approach the next election, Miriam, we will do it as a united, and Kenya will remain very united. So it's having very difficult, Miriam. Let me just go say that there's no much it's going to tell us that this one has been achieved, but it's going to give us hope that the better days are in the future. We are keeping on addressing COVID-19. We will improve our economy. God willing, we are going to go through PPI. So be it. Those are the midst is finding himself to address the nation. He must give us hope. Hope.
And hope is very important. Daniel, what are your expectations from today's State of Address by President Uhuru Kenyatta in Parliament later?
Yes, of course, Miriam, as we speak currently, we've been having a long-standing pandemic implication on the people of Kenya. And of course, whatever the people of Kenya need at the moment is something that will be able to perhaps give them a higher spirit, a morale to be able to beat the high economic times that we are experiencing today. And also just to give them a clear roadmap of perhaps what the government is taking towards ensuring that perhaps the current tide in terms of difficulties both in the economy as well as the health sector are well taken care of. And also I expect the president to also talk something about the BBI report, because as much as we are facing a pandemic, remember also in the years that have passed over 5 decades, half a century rather, we've been facing a lot of problems ranging from ethnic animosities, problems of inequality, and as well as inclusivity. So to me, I believe we'll have a portion of his time to talk about the BBI report and the importance of Kenyans embracing such a report in order to solve the systemic problems that we've been having, some of which I've just mentioned, and of course corruption, and ensuring that we improve service delivery to the citizenry, especially this time when we're having a pandemic. So those are the issues that I expect the president to talk about, basically issues to do with the common man, and that will fall in that sphere.
Very well. Karanja, your expectations?
Okay, thank you very much. Today on the State of National Address by the President, one thing that he will talk about is the COVID-19, because this is a giant in the room. This is what have been in this country for the last almost from March, from the first quarter of this year, and we are still going through it, and we are still fighting it. Therefore, this is something that we talk about how the government is doing to ensure that Kenyans are protected. And number 2, we talk about the economic implications of COVID-19 and how his government is working to ensure that we revamp the economy, we rejuvenate the jobs that were lost, how to create new employment to the people who lost their jobs, how he is supporting the SMEs and so on. That are some of the things that the president will talk about. And he will also, because he is a president who is having a legacy that he's working on, I think he'll touch 1 or 2, 3 things that he have done on his own in his legacy towards the development agenda, infrastructure, and the big 4. I think he'll touch on them because that is part of the reasons why he is in office, because he is there to serve the people of Kenya. And he has a duty to tell us what he is doing to ensure that what we elected him to do is being achieved. And finally, Miriam, he cannot go without saying a word on the BBI, because this is something that is close to his heart. It's something that he has been working through. It's a journey he has taken, and it's something that is on course. Therefore, this is something that he must tell Kenyans the importance of a unity, inclusion, a country that is free from corruption, equitable sharing of resources, and shared prosperity, all those things. I think those are some of the things that the president will talk about. And I feel like that is where he will major on mostly, because COVID-19 is here, and we all know it affects everything else. Yeah, Miriam, thank you.
All right, very well. And even still up there on the Standard newspaper says team edits BBI report. Handshake politicians led by Orengo, Pogisio, Junet, Kimunya, and Kenyatta. Well, last night evening reported to be making final changes to the report ahead of signature collection expected to start on Monday. So the train left the station long time ago. So those church leaders and deputy president and all these groups that have been, calling for consensus and a revision and all that, well, the team is already working on it, and on Monday it will be presented. Signatures expected to be collected on Monday. So that's what the Standard newspaper there says. So on the Star newspaper, Kiambaa church survivor linked to Gisheru case. At least 30 people were burnt alive in the Eldoret-based church in 2008. And a key witness told ICC she watched in horror as a woman was raped. That is on page 6 of the... this story usually makes my heart very sad. So I really don't like revisiting, but we have to. I think these are the difficult conversations we have to keep having. We said here, Professor, the other day, for us to truly heal and move forward. So let me just read that, because it's a story we've been following and it's important. A survivor of the January 2008 Kiambaa church fire tragedy is one of 8 witnesses. Lawyer Paul Gisheru is accused of influencing to pull out of the ICC case. At least 30 people were burnt alive in the Eldoret-based church at the height of the mayhem that followed the disputed 2007 general election. International Criminal Court prosecutor Fatu Bensouda said in 2013 that 8 prosecution witnesses unwilling to testify in the trial of Deputy President William Ruto and former journalist Joshua Arap Sang were insider witnesses. This is ICC's pick for witnesses who make allegations that link an accused person to the crimes they were alleged to have committed. Insider witnesses typically testify about meetings they attended in which an accused person allegedly participated in the planning of a crime. In January 9th, 2013 submission to the court, Bensouda said they expected to call a total of 46 witnesses. 8 pulled out. Bensouda, in her December 5th, 2013 application, said the pullout by the 8 happened after the prosecution revealed their identities to defense lawyers between February and April 2012. However, Bensouda did not explicitly or implicitly state that the defense teams of Ruto or Sang were involved in the withdrawal of the witnesses. So what Bensouda is saying, after the case started and the identity were shared or were open now to the defense team, the accused team there, now they knew them, and so according to Bensouda, that is when perhaps James Gisheru was able to identify this after their identity was revealed. He was able to know them, and that is perhaps when this corruption took place. Professor?
Miriam, that's also one subject that I don't like discussing. Mm-hmm. And how I pray that these things should come behind us, Miriam. Mm-hmm. At some point in time, it should come behind us so that we never talk anymore, so that people can heal and move on with their life. How I pray that Miriam justice will be done. Mm-hmm. An opportunity has come for Gisheru to tell us whether he had the influence over these witnesses. And if this is the kind of the witness over what she witnessed, Miriam, and here you are coming to interfere, that he doesn't go to tell the truth what happened to Miriam. You know, in that one itself, Miriam is not even hearing over what he show, how people can behave beastly, Miriam. As animals are not as human beings, Miriam. Going to rape innocent and defenseless women and children, Miriam, that is really totally uncalled for. But I want to thank God that still the blood of the innocent Kenyans who died and who were burned in the church is still crying. And one day, you know, we serve a God of justice. Justice will come out. So it's a good thing. They thought that they would just deny the court the opportunity not to address this. The opportunity has come for it to be addressed. And as Miriam I say in court, we don't take hearsay, we take evidence. Those are competent judges. They will listen. Gicheru will be entitled to have his lawyers, and there will be prosecution side. Miriam, it will be very interesting, because that's what of natural justice requires, that both sides must be listened to. And let me hope at the end of the day, Miriam, there will never be peace without justice.
All right.
And the justice must be tempered with mercy. Let us know this what these people did, and we say, okay, we kill you so that we do this one, and we have a conversation and an engagement, Miriam, and we agree. Let us move on. Let us move on. It happened. Let it not happen again, lest we forget.
Okay, and I just want to leave that story over there, because when you read through and all those her testimony there, it's just sad. But of course, that is on the front pages there of the Star newspaper. This is a story we shall be following, because it is of national interest, even as Gicheru's case there continue there at The Hague. So yesterday, CS Mutahi revealed, under the Ministry of Health, that COVID has killed 50 Kenyans in just 2 days. We should be worried, Daniel.
Yes, Miriam, it's a very worrying trend, and of course, Kenyans should not ignore the fact that as much as the economy is open and people are going about with their daily activities, does not mean that COVID is out of town. So therefore, we need to be very vigilant. At least from my end, I know 2 or 3 people from my family who have been who've been exposed to the virus, and thankfully they have recovered. And therefore, that tells you that you should not ignore the fact that the virus is still quite in sight, and we are not yet out of the woods. And therefore, those who are dismissing the fact that we should continue putting on masks and taking measures put in place, perhaps have not had an encounter with it. And yesterday I saw Dr. Lukoya Atwoli giving an update and just a statistical calculation on how perhaps the percentage of the virus which has been able to circulate among the people. And perhaps when you look at the hypothesis that he was using, unless you have a personal encounter with it, then you will be very fast to dismiss it. But the fact remains that COVID is still so much around, and we see countries like Italy also grappling with the second wave, and so many others in Europe. So let us keep vigilant and ensure that we follow these measures to the latter. And I believe at the end of the day, we shall be able to overcome this particular pandemic. And as you know, the year 2020 has been a very difficult one. And as it comes to end, I believe also the numbers are going to reduce, of course, owing to the fact that we continue to keep these stringent measures adhered to the latter.
All right, so Kenya's COVID-19 death toll has hit 1,180 after 26 more people died yesterday. This is the highest number of deaths since the first case was reported on March 13th. In a span of 2 days, the country has lost 50 people to the disease after 24 deaths were reported on Tuesday. Karanja, we are not even out of we are in the thicket of it, in the middle of this crisis as we speak right now. And I don't know. What would you have to say to Kenyans?
Thank you, Miriam. And one thing that is like we are at the peak of this disease at the moment, because you see even the numbers of the reported cases nowadays, they are above 1,000. And the number of deaths now, the worrying thing is that the number of deaths are now increasing day in, day out. Now we moved from 2 to 3, we came to 10. Now we are above 25 numbers. Therefore, this is something that is serious. It's something that is with us. And if anybody thought that we have won this war, we are still yet, and it's the time that we need to keep on tightening the measures, observing the protocols by the Ministry of Health, so that we fight this disease and we keep it at par. Miriam, if you look at this trend, I think the challenging thing is that Kenyans are not observing the rules, and they are not observing them, and that is the point, and that is why the numbers are increasing. And I feel like sometimes the government, if these numbers continue rising, they should come with more strict measures. And if it calls for even having a cessation of movement, and as we did in the first phase of this disease, then let it be it. Because Miriam, as we are, Kenyans will not observe these rules, because at the end of the day, they are free to go to the market, they are free to go to the clubs, they are free to do everything else that they wish to do. And Miriam, Kenyans are not that disciplined, and a little force is not bad when it comes to these measures, because these are a matter between life and death, and the government should wake up, because if more lives will be lost, then the government should be blamed because they are not making these rules. They should tighten it so that Kenyans will fear, and they will even be observing these rules if it means taking them, implicating them through force.
Mm-hmm. All right, very well. Professor, finish for us.
Yeah, Miriam, I have always said that Corona is real. This is a serious pandemic, and this pandemic is going to work on us. You will only not take it serious, Miriam, if you are not briefed to what's happening around the world, Miriam. United States of America is the most affected country, Miriam. COVID-19 has sent Trump home. That's how serious COVID-19 is, Miriam. If you go in your village, Miriam, let me just give a narrative. The number appears small, because, Miriam, life gone, it will never recover. You know that. Once you just do that, you just go to your village, and then you start around your area, and you start counting where did so and so, and they did not die the same day. It was not a pandemic which came and wiped them, but you start coming, you find your age mate of your father, your grandpa, they are not there. Where have they gone? One by one. This week, we started 21, we came 24, meaning that there is over 1 Kenyan dying. Then we have now reached 26 million. This is a worrying trend. And as Dana said, as Javan has said, that the government should come with very stringent measures, Miriam. Yes, well, we have to come, but Miriam, we have also to deal with our behavioral change, our perception on how we think. People are waiting to see them die, and when you die, I don't know when you realize. You not realize. Don't go to that extent, Miriam. We need to do with behavior change, Miriam. You know what? Laws we can be there. We know very well. Those are not murder is not allowed in this country, but people murder people. People drinking this risk to brew, Miriam. Laws are there, and people knows the consequences, but people drink. Even when they drink and the brew is having some chemicals, they go blind. They even say that even if you switch off the lights, hata mkisima taa tutakunywa. So Miriam, we need to work on the behavior and the perception and carry on this message to tell our brothers and the sisters that this thing is really, don't kill yourself or don't kill me. If you don't care about your life, at least care. The government, of course, is not going to have a police for every Kenyan, Miriam. So that's how COVID-19 is really, and now it is dawning to us that it is killing. You hear what Daniel has told you. We have started seeing people whom we know getting these things, Miriam.
Yes.
I personally have lost a friend. I lost my lawyer to COVID-19. So this thing is really, Miriam.
Yes, and Miriam, just maybe to add on what Professor is saying, let Kenyans know that as they walk there without a mask, they should know that the hospitals, the Kenyan hospitals, are demanding at least a down payment of 200,000 before they can be able to treat you of COVID-19. So it's your personal responsibility. it has the financial costs that comes with it. It's not just that you will catch the virus today and tomorrow you are in a government hospital and you are treated the way you are treated malaria and then you are discharged to go back home. You'll have to spend as much as 200,000 shillings.
All right. And you can prevent that by only wearing a mask costing 20 shillings or 50 shillings, surely. Do the math. And as we conclude on the Standard newspaper, some story there shortly up there. Calm down, Donald. KOT troll Trump. Public nuisance. It's raining memes on social media as Kenyans ridicule American president for refusing to accept electoral defeat, mocking the self-styled strongman and genius who has made America the butt of all jokes. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Good Morning Africa. I was with Professor Jared Ujari, Daniel Osonga, and Javan Karanja from Nanyuki. We shall be back here at the top of the hour with another show where we shall be looking at, yesterday we looked at corruption, and we were going through the report by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution that is presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday, highlighting what he's been able to achieve in the last 3 years. So today we are going to continue the conversation, but we're going to look at is judiciary, because we know in that report, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions raised concern. In one of the challenges that he mentioned is that the slow process by which the wheels of justice move, and that is the judiciary. So is the judiciary the weak link when it comes to the fight against corruption? That is a conversation you do not want to meet, as you do not want to miss. So let's meet here at 11 a.m. and talk about that. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning to you.